So one of the main frequently asked questions we always get is, hey, how can I learn to write effectively? So to illustrate this, I give you three of my own heroes in writing, my own experience as a writer. Winston Churchill, you've probably heard of. The other two you probably haven't heard of, but I'll explain in a minute. Winston Churchill needs no introduction. He was known for his use of the English language. Kennedy, the famous US president, wrote that Churchill was able to mobilize the English language to send it into battle. He was able to inspire people to do all kinds of things with his language. Hadley Freeman and A.A. Gill are journalists that I love to read the work of, and Hadley wrote in one of her columns, I've never forgotten this as a writer myself, that the best way to write is exactly the way that you think. Great advice if you're writing in a second language, English, perhaps in your case, my second language, Hungarian. I try, and you should try as well, to think in that language when you write. We'll come back to that in a minute. A.A. Gill, he was a travel writer, a food writer. He's no longer with us, sadly, but he couldn't actually write at all. He was so dyslexic that everything he created, everything he published, was spoken by him into a computer, into a dictaphone. So you don't need to actually be able to write is the point. Think as you speak and write down in your second language. Try to do it a little bit every day and think, what kind of writer are you? There are different kinds of writers. These will make sense to people watching this. Are you an architect? Are you a sketcher? How do you react when faced with a difficult writing task? Ladies and gentlemen, what do you do? How do you start writing? Do you carefully construct a plan beforehand, or just start writing and think about the process as you go along? I bet a lot of people listening to this will just start to write and think as they go along. That's not the best approach if English is not your native language. You want to be more like Arnold. You want to be a bricklayer, putting down a structure for your writing before you get going with a difficult writing task. If you're confused about how to do that in your next academic paper, don't worry, we can help. We have lots of content, lots of other courses, lots of other online workshops on the Learning Lab that you can engage with to help you write your next paper. Be a bricklayer, be like Arnold, put down a structure before you get going with your next writing task. And so this brings me back to that frequently asked question that we often do get. Gareth, Scott, how can I write better? Try to think in English and write as you think. Try to do it a little bit every day, even for 10 minutes, even for 15 minutes. And here's a top tip. Look at papers that you like and respect in your own field. Look at how native speakers put their papers together, their style, their shape, their structure, and even their presentation, their figures, their tables, their graphs, and so on. You can imitate. That is the sincerest form of flattery, as we say in English. Look at how native speakers do it. And let me please, 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 if you translate your work into English from your first language, use a subject area specialist, because so much meaning can get lost in the translation. So get in touch with us if you need to access a specialist translator working in your subject area. But these are tips, these are tricks based on lots of experience and lots of talking with non-native speaking English as a second language researchers around the world, helping people to write a bit better.